Hey everyone, and welcome back to our channel. My name is Austin Brand, the AI evangelist here at Integral. In our last video, I broke down all things around AI marketing, and especially when it comes to agentic AI. And today, we're going to be going even further on actually showing you how you can build your own AI worker in our AI Studio platform. And don't worry, I'm going to be going through it step by step so that you don't get lost at any point during the way. So whether you're a marketer or just someone that's generally interested in building AI agents, this is for you. But first things first, let's head over to integral.ai and sign into our AI Studio platform. Okay, from our homepage, we just scroll down and create new agent. This is our canvas that we're going to be working from. We have our agent inputs, our LLM node in the middle, as well as our agent outputs. So as we approach this blank canvas we have here, I want you to think about what are some roles and tasks that you have in your everyday life that you would want to start automating. Well, in my space and my team, we're often doing things like creating blogs, creating social media posts, creating a script for a webinar, writing email campaigns, to just name a few different things. And those could all actually be even separate AI workers in the first place. But for the sake of today, I'm going to show you a few of these examples. So first things first is we can always move around our canvas however you would like, but let's go ahead and name this agent. Let's call it Austin's Demo Marketer. You can name it, of course, whatever you would like. So let's go ahead and think about what would actually start off this agent specifically. Now, in this case, it might be that you have an email from your boss. You might have an email from a client, someone that is actually giving you, hey, this is what I want you and your team to be marketing this month. That's what we can put in our agent inputs here. Once I open this up, you can see that there's just a dummy prompt in here, but you can use this as your place to kind of put any of that text. You just copy and paste into it. Or you can also see that there are things like files, images, some audio that you could use as another input here. So if you have a saved file by any means, like maybe even going over the whole marketing campaign, you can feed it into this agent so it has that underlying context. But for the sake of today, let's just leave it as user prompt and we can put something in there later. So the first thing that I want this agent to do is to actually take the information that it's given and write a few different emails that could be used as marketing emails for us to send out. So in this case, as I open up this LLM node, you can notice here that you can change the model. We have GPT-4o, Claude 3.5, and of course, we're always getting the new models as well. And I like, in my case, Gemini 2.0, because as you can see here, I go over this a lot in my videos. There is a 1 million token limit here, which is about 750,000 words, give or take. And it is very, very inexpensive to use. So I'm always a big fan of Google Gemini. But then as you scroll down, you can see that we have our user prompt, which is exactly from our agent inputs. You can see that it has the inputs.user. And this is just going to be whatever you ask for. It's going to go straight into there. But then we have what's underneath called the system prompt. This is basically where you put in the roles and the guidelines that you want this particular LLM to follow. So in this case, I'll say something like this. Act like a professional marketing expert, so giving your LLM an actual role. Your tone is business casual and friendly. Now, of course, you can change whatever you would like with this system prompt, but just realize whatever you put into that system prompt, the LLM actually biases towards those instructions. So the more specific that you can be in the system prompt for how you want this LLM to respond, the better. Chat history length is just going to be how many messages back do you want this LM to be able to read. In my case, I like to use this very transactionally. Every time I create a new prompt, basically, it's a new chatbot. So I actually like to keep it at 0. And temperature you can think of as literal to creative. 0 being extremely literal, and then 1 being up to 1 being quite creative. Past 1, it's just too creative. So in this case, I want it to be, pretty on brand with what the information is given because it's going to be these marketing emails, but I do want a little bit of creativity in there. So let's go ahead and try something like straight in the middle, 0.5, okay? And then we can name these and even label these nodes. So let's just call this the email node. So we know exactly what this node is, so I don't get confused when we have, a whole bunch of LLMs here. So now from here, after every step, I like to save just so I don't lose anything and just to ensure that I can, continue going on without having to start over. So on our left-hand corner, you see this Add Agents button. As you scroll through, you can see that we have a whole bunch of different agents. that we could use. But for today, we're going to be focusing a lot on the LLMs. So I'm going to add another LLM here and I'll put it right below. So basically, let's say this LLM here specifically is going to be taking the information given in the user input, and I want it to create me an outline, a template for a webinar that we can have. So let's call this webinar. That's fine. We'll connect our user input to this user prompt. And from here, you can put in something, of course, like we did with the email agent, something like this. Act like a professional webinar host. Your job is to take the topic that you are given and turn it into an optimized 1 hour, obviously you can change that for however long you want, webinar template for my team to follow. So that every time it responds, it will give you not just words, for about this webinar, it'll put it in an actual template for you. It's very, very smart. And if I didn't say, of course, make sure that you change the model for it here. And if you've ever used any of these models before, Claude 3.7 and 3.5, both actually, are great at writing specifically. So since this is going to be a template and it's going to be a kind of a longer document here, I'm going to use Claude 3.7 Sonnet. But just to show you here, on my last email node, you saw that per 1 million tokens, it was 15 cents. And you can see here, it's $3 for 1 million tokens for Claude 3.7 Sonnet. And instead of 1 million tokens, 200,000 tokens. So every LLM has more or less different properties that it can follow. And this is fine for this one. Go ahead and name this again, webinar template. Okay, and then setting up our, let's keep it 0 chat history. I want this to be fairly creative since it's going to be a full hour webinar. Let's go ahead to 0.6. And of course you can go higher if you'd like. Okay, so now we have our emails. We have our webinar template. Next will more than likely be social media posts actually based off of this webinar. So as you can kind of tell, this is more or less as you would normally see a workflow. So if I add on another LLM, logically it would be right here. But in this case, I want it to be after the webinar. So it's going in a sequence. So based off of this webinar, I can put it straight into our new node here so that it knows what exactly is going to be talked about in this webinar in the first place, and it can make some social media posts around that. Once again, I like the idea of Claude 3.7 Sonnet and its writing abilities, so I'll choose that. Let's call this social media, okay? And then we'll write a system prompt like this. Act like a professional social media marketer. You were to take the content you were given and you were to make a social media optimized post. Your tone is business casual, but funny and relatable. Sometimes what I like to do is I like to be very specific. So maybe you and your company, you guys specifically focus on TikTok. Here I would put in, instead of saying just social media optimized post, I would say a TikTok optimized post, a LinkedIn optimized post, Instagram, whatever it may be. The more specific that you can be, the LLMs will have some data around that kind of actual content. So if you're very specific, it can also output something that is much more specific. And as per usual, the temperature here, we want it to be very creative. So I'm going to be, 0.7, it can go all the way even 0.8 here, where you want it to kind of veer off a little bit and actually start to make some creativity behind your posts. And of course, once again, if you want to have 5 posts, you can put in here, make 5 different posts. It's kind of up to you on exactly how you want to set up your system prompt because it will follow it. Let's go ahead and save this. So now you can see we do have a good worker that is being built right now. It can take an email and create these emails. It can create the webinar templates, the social media posts. And then from there, you can kind of start to see the general structure of how we do things. So if I wanted to take these emails and go even further, I could actually even add another email node, kind of this in line with the social media is here. I could have another layer deeper right here. For example, if I wanted to have it write its own blog based off of this. So that's actually a great way to do it. Let's add on a blog node. So we're adding another LLM right below. Well, per usual, this is writing. That's kind of obviously going to be a big thing with marketing. Let's call this blog. And here we are going to connect once again this first user input to our user prompt, and then write a system prompt like this. Act like a professional blogger for a marketing team. You were to take the content that you were given and write an SEO optimized blog for our website. Your tone is informative and professional. So that's also one interesting thing that you will notice when working with LLMs and being able to actually put in a system prompt is the more expertise that you have in the space, the more specific that you can be with your system prompt. So adding in there SEO optimized, okay, now it knows that it wants to add different keywords that are in this actual space. So it always kind of comes back to the idea of you still need to be a professional in order to use these LLMs effectively. Okay, as we go down, once again, temperature, I want it to actually be fairly spot on of what I would, the information that it's given, and not as creative. So I'm going to go zero point 0.4. You could do 0.5 if you want. If you want to be super creative, once again, you just add that on there. And then one cool thing that I like to do, and I like on when I see blogs, is I actually like text to speech a lot. I like to listen. I'm more of a podcast kind of guy. So I'm going to scroll down and you can actually see that we have even text to image and we have text to video. But what I like here is OpenAI's text to speech. These two are actually the same, so it doesn't matter which one you choose. And you can take the output right here as the input. If I open this up, you can change the different voices. So for me, I know that I actually like Onyx the most because it's very similar to what my Google Assistant sounds like. And you can, of course, try all the different voices, make sure that it gives a good voice to your brand in the first place. And from there, you can also choose different formats for it to come out as, if it's going to be optimized for something other than, let's say, your blog. Let's just call this speech. And so now you have almost a whole idea of a marketing campaign right off the bat. From this content that's given, it's going to write emails, it's going to create a webinar, and it's going to give you a template based off of that. Based off of your webinar, it's going to create some social media posts. And it's also going to write you a blog and turn it into an MP3 so that someone could listen to it if they want. And from here, obviously, once again, you could just keep adding on. Or what you can also do is change to make each of these nodes and kind of sections their own agent in the first place to then come into one giant agent at the end, which we would call, an AI worker, but that is for future videos. We would call that a multi-agent system. So from right now, I'm actually going to take the outputs from all of these and I'm going to put it into our agent outputs here. So what you can decide, and you can notice here that what I did is, even though social media is connected to webinar template, I also wanted that webinar template to go to the agent outputs. I also wanted the blog to go, not just the speech after it. So you can connect as many things as you would like to this agent outputs. And so you can get as much information as you would like. So let's go ahead and test this out. I wrote out a fake email that I copied and pasted into this agent inputs as, hey team, this month's marketing campaign is going to be around our big spring sale that is happening in May. Our tech products will be 30% off and our Samsung TVs will even be 50% off. So you can expect what each of these nodes is going to give you based off of this information. And I'll show you exactly what it would look like at the end. Go ahead and click on this run button, and you can even see specifically what the agent is working on at every time. So you can see that at the same exact time, it is working on the emails, which is done with, the webinar, and the blogs. So you can see exactly also where you need to debug or where you need to change things in the future if something doesn't work. But you can kind of systematically see them finishing and then going to the next task, and we'll take a look at the end. Now, the text-to-speech does take a little bit longer because it's having to actually turn it into an MP3 file. But from here, you can see that it is done. So I'll spread back here so you can see the full agent. Now, you have two major ways that you can interact with this agent. First and foremost is what I just showed you. You could put things into the agent inputs and run it from here, where for the outputs, I can actually just open this up and you can see here what each output would look like. But in the case of it being easier and probably you're more used to in the case of like ChatGPT or Google Gemini or Claude, is to see it from an actual chat interface. So I'll show you that. Come over here to the left side where it says chat with agents and click on that. So the first thing you can see here is actually the emails that were written. And this is a great point that I think is very, very important when it comes to LLMs. I was not specific enough when I actually put in the system prompt that I want these emails to be going to our clients or customers. not just writing an email in general. Because you can see here, this is just a normal email, almost as if it's talking to the team that you're on, which we can change that after. So of course, it's all about seeing what the output is and then iterating off of that to make it better and better and better. LLMs are not perfect. They still require our human input, and they still require us to change and modify things from time to time. But as we scroll down, okay, here is this template. So it even tells you what the template is. You have the setup, the introduction, and it broke all of it down even minute by minute. So this looks like a great template to me as someone that runs a lot of webinars. I like it. And then here we have that social media post that even threw in there some emojis. This is one thing that I like to change too, is notice that it's somewhat short. You can always ask for it to be like what I do is I say, make sure that it is between 600 and 1,000 characters. If you want it short, you can ask for it to be shorter. If you want it longer, you just tell it. Once again, requiring you to actually have some expertise in the first place because it doesn't think, it doesn't know exactly what you want. And then here we have our blog that is written. And just like before, you can see there was a pretty short blog. Sometimes that's great. And other times you want it to be slightly longer. Just ask for it to be slightly longer in the system prompt and it'll do just that. And then lastly, you can see here that we have a MP3 file.
Spring into saving. Huge discounts on tech product.
So from there, you can change the voice, all of that. And you can see that it is 2 minutes and 28 seconds long. And you can, of course, download this to use somewhere else. So there you have it. Now you see what the actual building blocks are around building your own AI workers. I always like to encourage people when building AI agents and AI workers is just start trying things. As you saw, there are some things that I built that maybe I need to spend a little bit more time on, changing the system prompts, making sure that it's actually correct. These LLMs and these agents aren't alive. They don't think exactly for you. So you do have to put in some work to actually give it the ideas of what you want it to do. And then it can autonomously go through and do those tasks for you once you build them out. But at least now you have the building blocks that you can take this and go try something yourself. If you're watching this before April 8th, 2025, then I have a very special invitation for you. We are actually hosting a live stream with one of our clients around AI-powered marketing and the agents that we have built for them. You'll see some things that are very similar to what we saw today, an SEO agent as well as a content marketing agent. So if you're interested in joining that, you'll find the registration below. And of course, if this is after April 8th, you'll just find this on our channel. Now that you have seen how you can actually build a marketing agent, what are you going to build? And if you found this video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so we can actually know that you like this type of content. Stay tuned to the rest of the videos about AI marketing this month, and we'll see you next time.